I wasn't supposed to find out through a Facebook notification. It blinked onto my screen at 2:13 p.m., a little red circle over my mother's name. She never uses social media, not really. Just enough to scroll through photos of my cousins, dog and inspirational quotes posted by her church friends. But there it was. Sophia tagged you in a live video. I didn't click it right away. I stared at the words, blinking against the soft light of my laptop screen, my tea already gone, cold. I was editing photos from a wedding I'd worked last week, someone else's celebration, someone else's joy. I'd just finished cropping the bride's hand resting delicately over her stomach. She was 3 months pregnant, but she didn't want the bump to show. That's when I heard it. Faint organ music, streaming, and laughter, the kind that makes your ribs ache if you're not a part of it. I clicked, and I saw her. She stood at the end of the aisle in my mother's dress, not a replica, not a similar style. No, it was the dress, the one my mother hand-stitched when she was 23. Off-white silk with a faded blue hem, her something blue. She kept it boxed in tissue in the hallway closet, right above the folded quilts, and beside the box labeled for her day, her me. I was supposed to be her, but it wasn't me standing there. It was Lily, my sister. She looked radiant. I'll give her that. Soft curls tucked under the same ivory veil Mom promised me when I was 12. The veil I tried on once, just for fun, and swore I'd never wear again until the real day. The one that still smelled faintly of cedar and talcum. My hands didn't shake, not at first. I watched on mute for the first few minutes, just lips moving. Lily's hand brushing her groom's chest, our father laughing. My mother dabbing the corner of her eye with a white handkerchief that used to be mine, and then the camera panned, and I saw the empty chair. Second row, left side. It had a pale pink sash on it. One of the others, I guess, must have assumed I was there, just late, but I wasn't. I hadn't been invited, not to the rehearsal dinner, not to the bachelorette, not even a polite text saying, "We're doing something small, maybe next time." The silence in my apartment pressed against me like a second skin. I heard the hum of my fridge, the ticking of the wall clock above the microwave, the faint shuffle of my neighbor vacuuming through the wall. The live stream was still going, and I suddenly realized I wasn't breathing. I clicked out of it, slammed the lid of my laptop shut like it had just said something cruel. I sat there on my kitchen floor, tile cold against the back of my thighs, and stared at the line of boots by the door. One pair was my mom's. She left them here once when she visited, then never came back to get them. I kept them because they were hers. But now I was starting to wonder if anything of hers was ever truly mine. There's a kind of silence that only comes after a betrayal you didn't see coming. Not loud and shattering, but low and curling, like fog sliding under your door. That was the silence I lived in the rest of that day. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't hurt, I was, but because I didn't know where to start. What moment to unravel? What thread to pull first from the tapestry of a lifetime that suddenly felt like someone else's story? That dress was never just fabric. It was a promise. I was 13 the first time Mom let me hold the box. She opened the closet slowly, almost reverently. Her fingers brushed the cardboard like it might crumble if she touched it too quickly. She pulled it down, cradled it like a child, and set it on the guest bed. "You can look," she'd whispered, but gently, Inside, layers of soft tissue paper unfolded like petals. I remember the way her breath caught just slightly as she revealed it, off-white, long-sleeved, stitched with tiny, near-invisible pearls around the collar. "It's not fancy," she said. "But I made it myself. Every stitch, every thread." I'd reached out with both hands, half afraid to touch it, and then she said it. "When it's your turn, if you want it, it's yours." Lily had been in the doorway that day, chewing a piece of licorice. She wasn't interested in the dress. She never was. She liked new things. She'd once told me she didn't want someone else's nostalgia. That stuck with me. Someone else's nostalgia. She was good at making everything sentimental feel small. Mom always said she didn't mean anything by it. "She's just younger, sweetheart. You're the old soul." I used to think being the old soul meant I was special. Now I think it meant I was just quiet. Quiet enough not to be noticed when things were being taken. Years later, after Mom got sick the first time, she pulled me aside in the kitchen. She'd had a good day. She was humming, slicing peaches for a cobbler, her cheeks warm with the flush of energy that came between treatments. "You know," she said, handing me a slice, "I've been thinking, when the time comes, maybe I'll give you the veil a little early, for safekeeping." I nodded, throat too tight to answer. She looked over my shoulder, toward the sound of Lily's voice in the living room. Laughter, music, another boyfriend, dropping by. "She's not like you," Mom whispered. "You'd remember what it meant." So I did. I remembered. I kept everything. Every note, every birthday card, even the safety pin she once used to fix my hem before my college interview. I remembered when she stroked my hair in the hospital after my panic attack. I remembered the way she used to squeeze my hand twice, under the table, and I'd squeeze back once, our secret code for "I'm okay." But maybe I stopped squeezing back when she started forgetting. Maybe that's how Lily got the dress. The box was gone from the closet the last time I visited. It was Christmas, a quiet one. Just the three of us. No lights outside, no music playing, just Mom, Lily, and me. Dad was helping a friend that night, which usually meant poker and beer in the garage of someone who still wore college hoodies in his 50s. The closet was already ajar. I peeked. The quilts were there. So were the board games and the old vacuum cleaner. But the box with the dress? Gone. I remember asking, casually, "Did you move the wedding box?" Mom didn't even look up from her tea. Oh, Lily was looking at it. I think she wanted to show it to someone. Someone. I had no idea someone was a fiancé. No idea showing it meant claiming it. Now, sitting in my dark kitchen, I wondered if Mom had watched the live stream with pride, or with guilt. Did she know? Did she remember her promise? Or had she forgotten, the way people forget to water something they once planted? Maybe she thought I wouldn't care. Or worse, maybe she thought Lily needed it more. I got up slowly, walking barefoot across the tile. The cold bit into my heels, but I didn't flinch. I opened the drawer beside the coat rack and pulled out the small velvet bag I'd hidden years ago. Inside, a tarnished silver hairpin. My mother's. It had fallen out of the veil once, and I had kept it without saying anything. It was the only part of her wedding things that had never passed through Lily's hands. I held it up to the window, watching the way it caught the soft light of dusk. Then I whispered, barely loud enough to hear. I remembered. There's a certain kind of betrayal that doesn't need to be spoken. It just settles, like dust over time. It blankets everything until even the good memories feel slightly gray. After the live stream, I found myself replaying moments that didn't seem cruel at the time, but now felt sharp around the edges. Things they didn't say out loud, but I heard anyway. Lily had always taken up more space than the room gave her. At dinner, she spoke over everyone. Interrupted, laughed, the loudest, made everything sound like her story. And I learned to fold myself small between sips of water. I'd start a sentence and see Mom already looking at Lily, waiting for the punchline I didn't have. It wasn't that they hated me. That would have been easier. They just forgot me. Or maybe they never really saw me. I was useful. Quiet. Our little helper, Mom would say. When Lily broke her arm in 3rd grade, I was the one who slept on the hospital floor next to her. I held the straw for her juice box when she couldn't lift her fingers. But later, in the family photo album, it was just Lily in the hospital bed with a teddy bear, smiling. I wasn't even in the frame. I used to think that was love. Service, without applause. But now I wonder if they just liked me better that way. Helpful, invisible, easy to shift aside. 3 weeks before Lily's wedding, though I didn't know it was her wedding at the time, I got a text from Mom. Hope you're doing well. Lily's had a rough week. Can you check in on her? That was it. No hello. No asking if I was okay. Just another request. I didn't reply. I'd been working overtime and trying to stretch groceries across 2 paychecks. I was saving for a new laptop, one that didn't crash every time Lightroom opened. My last freelance client ghosted me, and the rent had gone up, but Lily was having a rough week. I found out later she was stressed about the seating chart. That must have been what Mom meant. Seating chart. Funny, considering there was no seat for me. They stopped calling me firstborn around the time Lily got her marketing internship. She's really stepping up, Dad had said over the phone. Maybe you two could work together on something. He said it like it was a gift. He didn't ask if I was available. If I wanted to work on another one of Lily's Pinterest-fueled pop-up ideas. I'd been building a photography portfolio for 4 years, and suddenly I was the assistant again, the lens, not the subject. The day before the live stream, Lily posted a story, a blurry clip of her nails being done, over some pop song about forever love. I didn't even realize what it meant. She had a caption under it. Tomorrow's gonna be magic. I'd replied instinctively, without even thinking. Big event? She left me on red, and then the live stream. Now I know what she was preparing for. The glitter nails, the playlist, the something borrowed, my mother's dress. She knew I'd see it eventually. Maybe that's why they didn't tell. Me easier to deal with my silence than my presence. After it ended, I opened my laptop again, clicked through the comments. Lily looks stunning. OMG the dress. Literal perfection. Family goals. One of them even tagged me, as if I'd been there, as if I should be proud. I closed the laptop again and walked to the closet. My own, not Mom's. On the top shelf, I kept an old Polaroid box. It still smelled like cinnamon and tape. Inside were scraps from my childhood, a dried-out rose from my first dance, my debate team pin, a scribbled note from Mom, back when she used to leave them in my lunchbox. You are my favorite quiet miracle. Love, Mom. I ran my fingers over the ink. It had faded, but the indentation was still there. like the memory wanted to be remembered even if the color left it. I didn't cry, but something inside me shifted. Something final. Something I would never explain. I woke up before the sun the next day, not because I wanted to, but because my body didn't know where to put the grief. It wasn't loud, just constant. A quiet ache behind my ribs, pulsing in time with each breath. Grief like this doesn't scream. It whispers. It traces the edges of every mundane thing and makes them feel sharp. The spoon in my cereal bowl. The cup I'd forgotten to wash. The hair tie around my wrist. The one Mom used to braid into my hair when I was little. I didn't even brush my teeth. I went straight to the old storage bin under my bed. The veil wasn't in the house anymore. Not all of it, at least. But the comb was. The small metal hair comb that used to pin it in place. The one Mom gave me years ago. Just in case. It's antique, she'd said. Your grandma wore it too. It had a tiny scratch on one side, from when I dropped it in the driveway during my senior prom prep. I never told her. It was the only piece of the wedding set I still had. They must have forgotten about it. Or maybe they assumed I'd just give it over. Like I always had. I held it in my hand that morning for a long time. Felt the cold of it. Let the weight press into my palm like something sacred. And then, without knowing exactly why, I walked to the hallway. Unlocked the small fireproof box under the shelf where I keep my freelance tax receipts. Tucked the comb inside, closed it, locked it again. It wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't revenge. It was preservation. For once, I didn't want to be generous. Just wanted one thing that hadn't passed through Lily's fingers. Later that afternoon, Mom texted, "Hi, sweetheart. Hope you're doing okay. Things were a little chaotic this weekend. We'll catch up soon, okay?" She didn't mention the wedding. She didn't ask why I hadn't come, because I don't think they even noticed I wasn't there. Or worse, maybe they had, and decided not to let it ruin the photos. I didn't reply. Instead, I logged into my photo archive and opened the folder titled Untouched. Inside were portraits I'd taken of Mom the spring before she got sick. Just the two of us, in the park, under the old maple tree. She wore a straw hat and smiled at me like I was the only one in the world. She used to smile at me like that. Before Lily became the headline, I dragged one photo into a fresh document, edited the exposure, softened the background, sharpened her eyes. Then I printed it, framed it, set it on my kitchen shelf. Not to forgive, just to remember. 3 days passed. No apology, no explanation, just silence, polished and tidy, like the kind of silence you set out when company comes over. I went to work. I retouched photos. I mailed off 2 client USBs wrapped in brown craft paper and twine, because presentation still matters, even when you feel like you're fading. And then it happened. At 7:42 p.m., my phone lit up. A ding from the family group. Chat. The one I hadn't muted. Not out of hope, but out of habit. Don't forget. Lily and Matt's honeymoon send-off is this Saturday brunch over Aunt Meryl's. No. Hey, how are you? No. Sorry we missed you at the wedding. Just emojis and cake. I stared at the message, the way you stare at something surreal, like a bird flying upside down. Then I saw it. My name wasn't tagged. Everyone else was. Dad, Aunt Merrill, Cousin Renee, even Grandma, who can barely unlock her phone. But not me. I scrolled back, just to be sure. Not a single mention. Not after the ceremony. Not in the video thread. Not in the photos of Lily biting into cake, our mother beaming at her side. I locked my phone, turned it over, pushed it face down across the table, and sat there, hands folded, jaw clenched. It wasn't about the party. It was the quiet certainty of their choice. They had decided, without ever needing to say it, that I was the audience now. Not the daughter, not the sister, just a distant observer. I got up, walked over to the hallway, opened the drawer where I kept all the spare keys, the old receipts, the things I never quite got around to tossing. I found the envelope, the one that still had the spare key to the house where I used to sleep in the blue room with the wallpaper stars, the house where my name was once on every fridge drawing, every homemade birthday banner. I held the key between my fingers. It was cold, unfamiliar, like it didn't fit anymore. Didn't throw it away. I didn't return it. I did something smaller. I slid it into the same fireproof box as the veil comb, taped it to the bottom, wrote one word on the label inside, unclaimed. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't make a scene. But I did something else, too. I opened my calendar and marked Saturday morning, the time of the brunch, with a soft gray highlight. Then I booked something else, an art exhibit across town. One I'd been wanting to see for months, but kept putting off for family things. This time, I'd go, alone, without checking my phone. Not to forget them, just to remember myself. Saturday came. Warm light bled through the curtains that morning, soft and gold, the kind of light that makes you feel like you could start over, if only for a few hours. I dressed slow. A charcoal sweater, worn jeans, my favorite boots with the worn heel. I made coffee in silence. Not because I was sad. Not anymore. Just deliberate. Like I was building something small and steady inside myself. Something no one would get to claim. The art exhibit was quiet. I stood in front of a painting for nearly 10 minutes. A grayscale landscape, mountains half submerged in cloud. The caption read, "Memory is a place we visit alone." I smiled. Not big, not performative, just enough to feel it. A small stretch in my cheeks that reminded me I could still make that shape. At 11:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. I didn't check it. At 11:26, it buzzed again. I kept my eyes on a sculpture of a woman seated on a chair made of mirrors, her reflection everywhere, and nowhere at once. It wasn't until I sat on a bench near the back of the gallery that I pulled my phone from my coat pocket. 2 new messages, both from the family group chat. The first was from Lily. "Missed you today, we had extra quiche, lol." The second was a photo, a table full of flowers and sugar pastries, mimosas and tinted flutes. My mother seated at the end, wearing the brooch I gave her when I was 17. Lily smiling, mid-toast, and at the very edge of the photo, almost cropped out, my chair empty. I stared at the image for a long time. Not because I didn't expect it, but because I did. And that was the part that finally hurt less. The knowing. There was nothing to grieve anymore. Just facts, arrangements, like items on a table, sorted, categorized, No longer in reach. I clicked on the message thread, scrolled to the top. Past old birthday greetings, and blurry Thanksgiving selfies, and group emojis I never added. I hovered, my thumb over the name, then pressed leave group, and then delete conversation. It wasn't anger, it was air. Space. I felt like I could breathe again, like the screen had been fogged for years and suddenly I could see. Not them, but me, what I looked like when I stopped waiting to be invited. I walked out of the gallery. The sky had turned overcast. Light rain kissed the sidewalk, soft and gray like the painting in the first room. I pulled my scarf tighter and headed toward the bookstore down the block. Not to buy anything, just to be among paper and quiet. They might call later. They might not. They might send Christmas cards with my name spelled wrong again. But I won't be watching. Not anymore. It came on a Tuesday. I almost missed it. Wedged between a grocery flyer and a pre-approved credit card, the envelope looked plain. Off-white. No handwriting. No stamp. Just printed text. No return address. I wouldn't have opened it, but something about the weight, slightly thicker than paper, made me pause. Inside was a card. Simple floral border. Cream background. Gold foil writing. Thank you for being a part of our special day. My breath stilled. Not from shock. Just that quiet kind of tightness you get when your body remembers something you've worked hard to forget. I opened the card. Typed message. No ink. No personal note. Just, we're so grateful for the love and support from friends and family during our wedding. Enclosed is a small receipt for expenses shared in good faith. With love, Lily and Matt. Folded behind the card was a bill, dry cleaning, for the dress. $137.84. I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. I just stared. A new stillness bloomed in my chest. Not sadness, not anger. Just a soft, widening void. The kind that comes when you realize you've finally, truly been made into background noise. Even now, they saw me as the support beam, the reliable one, the spare, not worthy of the table, but worthy of the invoice. I folded the bill, slipped it back into the envelope, and wrote in black pen across the front, address not recognized. Then I walked down to the corner post box, dropped it in without a second thought. No ceremony, no revenge, just release. Back home, I lit a candle, a quiet scent, cedar and moss. I sat at the small desk by the window and opened my calendar. Marked Lily's birthday in soft gray. Then I selected the event and deleted it. Later that night, I pulled out the fireproof box again, ran my hand over the comb, the key. And now I added something else. The printed thank you card, folded once. Not because I wanted to keep it, but because sometimes you need a record of what was done to you, not to carry the pain, but to name it, so it doesn't sneak back in, later pretending to be love. It came on a Thursday. I saw her name on the screen, Mom, and just watched it ring for a moment, the familiar tone, the pulsing name, the part of me that still expected softness, even now. I answered. Hi, sweetheart. Her voice was light. Practiced. How have you been? We haven't heard from you. I leaned back in my chair, let her words settle. I've been okay. A pause. Not awkward. Just waiting. Well, she said slowly. Lily mentioned you, never RSVP'd. I know things have been a little hectic, but it would have meant a lot to her if you'd come. I didn't respond right away. The words were balancing in my mouth. Too many of them. Too much history. Shrunk into a single breath. She continued before I could speak. And now you're not even replying in the group. You didn't respond to the thank you card. It's like you're pulling away from us. Pulling away. Like that wasn't the whole story. Like I hadn't been slowly folded out of frame over the years. Like I hadn't been sitting in the back row of my own family for a decade. I looked at the framed photo of her on my shelf, the one from before Lily became the favorite, before promises were forgotten in closets, before the veil, the dress, the silence. I'm not pulling away, I said quietly. I just stopped reaching for what doesn't reach back. She didn't answer. The silence on her end felt surprised, but not broken. Like she'd just begun to see something she had trained herself not to look at. After a few seconds, she cleared her throat. Well, we still love you. You know that, right? Love, I thought. The kind that forgets birthdays. The kind that keeps one daughter close and uses the other's savings to fund her bridal shower. I didn't say any of it. I didn't need to. Okay, I whispered. Take care, Mom. And I hung up. That night, I did something I hadn't done. In years, I wrote myself a letter. Not a journal entry, not a note. A letter. I wrote, "You are not the absence of their attention. You are not the leftovers of their celebration. You are not uninvited. You are free." I folded it, taped it inside the fireproof box, next to the comb, next to the key, next to the card, and then I closed it for the last time. I don't know what they'll say at the next gathering. If they'll notice my chair is gone, or just fill it without pause. But I do know this. There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop asking to be chosen and start choosing yourself. Quietly, gently, fully. Even if no one claps, even if no one notices. Especially then.